All right, here we go.
Okay. Hi, I am Chelshank Redemption. I am a skater in the Wreckers with Rose City Rollers, and I am here to show how to make kombucha. I've been drinking it, well, making it for a couple of years now, and I started because it's very expensive to buy, and I wanted to have it more often. So that seemed to make it pretty easy. Catherine, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, I'm here behind the scenes. I will feed Chel questions from the Q&A as we go. And additionally, I'm going to take some notes so that I can attach that to the YouTube video in the end for the step-by-step of how she goes about the process.
Cool, thanks. Okay, so kombucha is a fermented tea that is believed to have its origins in Southeast Asia and in Russia. It's believed to have a lot of healthy probiotics for your gut. And so basically, it's a fermented tea, and it grows a pellicle on top of it, and that's called a SCOBY, and it's a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. And what it does is it eats the sugars that's in the tea, you feed it a sweet tea, and it eats the sugars, and it converts them to alcohol, CO2, and some acids. And it's only like a tiny bit of alcohol. It's like not more than like 0.5%. Sometimes in some batches it could go up higher to maybe 1%, rarely even up to 2%. So it can be made in a variety of things. So I have a bit of a kombucha problem. So I have this big jug that I usually just drink off of. I just drink the spout, or from the spout, well, in a glass from the spout. And so I let this one do its thing. So I can make it like weekly because I go off of this one while I let this big guy do things for another week. So I don't know, it just kind of works through. I got tired of doing flavoring bottles. Once in a while I will, and I will show flavoring and getting that second fermentation that gives you your extra fizz, which is the yummy fun stuff. So first I'm gonna set this guy back aside. I just keep this lid, this plate on top to keep the air out. Anything that's glass or food grade plastic and even stainless steel can be used for holding your kombucha in. So I have an experiment going in this margarita bucket, but it also has a spout. So this one I'm just trying a flavored tea, and it has a little bit of a SCOBY that started on it. And they take a little while to form sometimes when they're brand new. And that one, yeah, that one was just an older one. So I think we're just gonna get to it right now. I've got some water that's hot and boiling over here. So the ingredients that you need is water, enough to fill your jug. And actually, I am gonna show you a SCOBY right now by taking it out of here because I need this jug. So
Chel, you mentioned that some of them are older and some of them are younger. Could you tell me more about that?
Yeah, when I pull this guy out of here, you'll see, I don't know if I can get this one's funny. He's got a bunch of pressure built up under him, so he's kind of big. Let me see if I can get the camera on him. Come on in. Oops, here we go. So can you see it's like all distended up because he's got a lot of pressure over him?
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Isn't he funny?
So funny. Are they always boys at your house?
Are they what?
Are they always boys? You said him.
I don't know. Not really. Oh gosh, why can't I get this in here? Oh, that was dumb. Don't let me do that again.
I can't help you. I am digital.
No, you're right. You can't. Okay, there we go. Sorry, get the drama name. Alrighty. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I do have clean hands. And I like to work over this tray because it's a lot easier to clean my spills from that than on the counter. Spills and drips. So I'm going to take him out of here, and you can see what it's like. So, whoop, some of it fell off. So they're kind of stringy. They're kind of ugly looking. They look really gross, but they're just a living culture, kind of like a bit of a mushroom. I'll have to get that other one out soon. Okay, my water's boiling. So I'm going to pour this into here so I can use it to more easily pour into the bottles when I do a second batch. And so when you do your batches, you want to have your fermented sweet tea, or your stewed sweet tea. It doesn't have to be fermented yet. Here we go. Here's the other guy. The other little dude. So this one was actually one of my original ones that went in there. and this one has formed in addition to it. So I could actually even just put one of these into the SCOBY hotel. So I'm just going to leave this other liquid in here. It's good. You always want to have a starter liquid plus your SCOBY for your next batches. And so I'm going to steep the tea while we go through this. So some of the recipes you may see online, they tell you to like boil a whole gallon of water and steep your tea and sugar in it. Then you're waiting like 2 hours for it to cool down. So I just do a smaller amount of water that I steep with. And have that going in there before I dump that.
So Chel, how much water is in your, well, what size is that jar, first of all?
This jar is a gallon.
That is a gallon, and you are boiling about 2 cups of water, am I?
Yeah, 2 to 4, something like that. I have 6 bags of tea. You want
6
to use,
bags of tea?
Yeah, you want to use black or green tea. They don't recommend to use flavored teas. I'm gonna keep this a little hydrated here. They recommend not to use flavored teas because that can kind of flavor your SCOBY. By using just the same flavor tea all the time, you're going to have more consistent kombucha, and it's better to add your flavors in the second fermentation. And I will get to flavors. There's so many crazy combinations that you can do out there. All right, so we've got tea steeping, and I'm going to dissolve the sugar in there. So this is 1 cup of sugar, and it seems like a lot, but that's for a whole gallon, and the SCOBY is basically going to eat the majority of your sugar. So there's hardly going to, by the time it's done fermenting, there's barely going to be any sugar left in there. And so we're just about there. I probably could have done less water.
But you didn't steep your tea very long. That was like 4 minutes or so, right?
Yeah, it was pretty hot. And so, yeah, you only want to do about like 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay.
It doesn't take too much. You can do it longer. You can take like a, a good sized mason jar and, throw 6 tea bags in it, set it out and fill it up with water and set it out in the sun, make sun tea.
Mm-hmm.
And then add sugar to it later, and that's fine too. All right, I'm gonna set this over here. And you can also use loose leaf tea. If you do that, then you want to strain it through something. And I'm not gonna add this boiling hot water straight into all of this liquid. I'm gonna make a full gallon batch. So I'm gonna also pour the rest of this onto my batch that I drink off of. There we go. So leaving these sludgy yeasties down in the bottom is actually good. It'll help your next batch go faster. And they're just fine. Every once in a while, you may just be like, all right, I'm just starting all from scratch. And you can just get rid of everything, wash your jug out nicely. But really, because the kombucha is processing everything, it brings everything to the pH that it wants to be happy, which is, when you first make it, it'll be, I looked this up because Molly was asking, it'll be around 4.5 pH, and then as it ferments, it's going to drop down between the 2.5 and 3.5. So just to cool this down, I'm going to add some more water in there because I don't want to shock anything, especially my jar. So, and then I take my tea bags out, and they're just going to go right to the compost bin.
Chel, I remember you saying you want to use a glass jar. Why is that?
You can use glass or food grade plastic, but if you use, and they say that you can use stainless steel, but for the most part, they don't want you using regular metals, like cheaper metals, and I don't know why aluminum is bad, but I don't really know why. So a glass jar or food grade plastic, and I think, for one thing, it's not going to harbor creeps. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pour this in with some of that water there. And then the main thing that I want to make sure is that, wow, that was a lot more water than I meant. I'm going to go ahead and test the temperature. I might drop some ice cubes in to cool it down a little bit more. So yeah, that is way hot. So it's 135 degrees. You want to bring it down to like 110 or below. Otherwise, it will shock and kill your SCOBY, because it's a living creature. So I could have done a lot less water in that pot. I was in a hurry and I didn't measure.
Okay, so you have to cool it to 110. Do you take its temperature? I mean, that's basically like, it's
like, yeah, if I could touch it with my finger, it's fine.
Yeah, that's a good direction.
So let's just stir this through. The dog came in. I think he thought I dropped food. Oh, stashed. And this one doesn't like to eat ice cubes. My last one did. Ice cubes. I'm sad. So, all right. Let's see what it thinks it is now. Oh, yeah. See, we're at 107. Yeah, it's golden. So now I can pour the starter liquid back in. If you don't have a SCOBY, you can actually grow a SCOBY from a bottle, a store-bought bottle of kombucha. And it can even be, as long as it needs to be unpasteurized kombucha, because otherwise they would have killed everything in it. That's good. And an unflavored bottle. So, and I do have, we'll take a look at them, because I have a couple of them over here. So just to see how it would work, I took a bottle of Brew Doctor. It's actually a flavored one. And I gave it some sweet tea and about half the bottle, or maybe half the jug. And it is starting to grow a SCOBY on top. Very slowly. It's a very slow growing SCOBY, but you can over a couple of weeks just from a bottle. But if you've got a friend that you can get one from, and I got my first one, I just asked out on Nextdoor, and somebody a few blocks over had one. And then this one that I think is working fine is actually from a bottle of Kyla hard kombucha. So it's like, let's just see what happens. And yeah, so this is it. And now it's ready to sit for, you know, cover it up either with, sometimes I use coffee filters, or I just use the same clean rag or clean piece of cloth that I just cut from fabric. And you want to set it out of the sun. You don't want sunlight, that will kill the yeasts. And you want it to hang out between 65 and 85. So if you have a really hot house, it's not going to be a problem. It will ferment faster on a warmer temperature. If it's below 65, then it's going to ferment a lot slower, and you could actually get mold growth because it will go so slowly that the bacteria and yeast won't be able to gobble everything up and make it happy. So I usually keep mine on a, especially during the winter when it's colder in my house, I keep mine on a aquarium, like a lizard tank heating mat. And so it just sits there. So it keeps it at a really nice, happy temperature. And so I'm definitely ready within a week, by the next week, to do it. So, so I'm gonna set that little
And
friend.
Chel, when you, oh, someone has a question. I was late joining. How do you get a SCOBY?
You ask a friend. So I asked on nextdoor.com. You can order them online too. They'll send them to you like in a zippy bag with some of the starter liquid. If they don't give you enough starter liquid, or if you just let it sit for too long, you can pour in from a bottle of kombucha, plain kombucha, because that's all your starter liquid is. And yeah, I asked on Nextdoor. Anybody can reach out to me if you know me, and I can get you one, because I have 2 little SCOBY hotels.
Oh, nice.
And actually, these are actually from that first batch that I got. She gave me a whole bunch, and they're just hanging out in there. And I did have a batch a year or so ago that went moldy. I don't know what happened. It was maybe too cold or something. And so then I kind of stopped for a few months, but I'd completely forgotten about my SCOBY hotels. And you should, every once in a while, just kind of dump some of the liquid out and give them some more sweet tea to feed on. I completely spaced about them, and they sat for a really long time, and they were fine. So they put right back in.
The ones that you're growing from unpasteurized kombucha, the 2 little jars, how long is it taking?
These are, I put the date on it. What day did I start them? I started these on April 27th.
Okay.
So having the actual SCOBY in there makes a big difference. Let's see, what else do I need to say? Okay, so this is going to take about a week to 10 days. At day 2 or 3, you may see some little white dots growing on it or something, and that is your SCOBY coming together. That's not mold. Mold is rare, but it does happen, but it's pretty obvious. It's going to be dark. It's going to be hairy. It's gonna be dry if it's on top of your pellicle. So you'll know, it'll let you know that it's not good. So then maybe around day 5 or 6, you might want to test it and see how it tastes. Oh, actually, I could just do it with this other one. So you just go ahead and take a straw and just do that little, put the finger over the end, put some in there, and then taste it, and it should have a little bit of an acidic tang to it. If it's still too sweet, let it sit for a few more days. And some people do like it a little bit sweeter. I've gotten where I just like mine raw instead of flavoring it, which just is great because it cuts out a step of things to do. Yeah, if you think it's ready and you want to do a second bottling to flavor it and give it that extra fizz like the ones you get in the store, then go for it as soon as it tastes about right to you. Let's see. I think I've got all of that page done. It's all in my cabinet drawer here. So that's how you do your first fermentation. And then you go to the second fermentation if you want to have it in the fizzy bottles. So like this one here, this was a hibiscus ginger that I did in April. I don't know if it'll make any sound. Oh, yeah, it did a little bit of a sound, and that was just because I had some of that like hibiscus flower from Trader Joe's, the little dried flowers that I was tired of eating. And so I boiled them up with some ginger and added a little bit extra sugar and made a liquid that I put in the blender. Today, I have a strawberry ginger basil.
Yum.
We're gonna try. Yeah, I was like, hey, why not? Because I have some strawberries that really need to be finished off. For ginger, I usually just take my things of ginger and I will just shred them all at one time and take teaspoonfuls and just plop them on a cookie sheet, freeze them, and then I put those little ginger balls in a container in the freezer. So I've always got ginger ready to go, and I'm never discouraged and go, oh, but I don't want a great ginger. So,
I do the same thing. I buy it at the Asian superstore. You can get an enormous amount of ginger for just a couple of dollars.
Yeah, so if you just like destroy it all at once, freeze it up in little balls, it's ready to go.
Don't buy it at New Seasons.
Yeah. This is another flavor that I recently did, I guess last week, and it's pineapple ginger. It has lots of floaties. I didn't bother making a little, I kind of like to do more of a liquid because I don't necessarily want all the floaties. I don't want to have to strain my kombucha every time I drink it. And this was just done with one of my other jobs. There was some expired pineapple juice that, you know, we couldn't sell. We couldn't use it to make the drinks. And so I just brought it home. I'm like, hey, that works.
Once your kombucha is aged to the age that you like it, before you get into the second bottling part, you take the SCOBY out and put it in a different jar, right? The SCOBY hotel, you put it in the SCOBY hotel, right?
Actually, basically what I just did, I take it and I move it to the new batch. I'll set it in a bowl while I'm making the new batch, and then it goes on there. If I decide I need to take a break, I'm going on a 1-year vacation to somewhere awesome. So yeah, you can just go ahead and fold it up and put it in a jar, and it'll grow another SCOBY on top of the jar. So they just keep going. Did I hear the question right and answer?
Yeah, so they're pretty resilient. Like, you don't need to be feeding. I failed at the whole sourdough thing right off the bat because I'm like,
sourdough is a needy, yeah, that's a needy kitchen pet. Absolutely. So I have some of these bottles, and as you can see, like, you can also, you know, save your Synergy or whatever your bottles are that you're getting from the store. You can save them and reuse them. They work pretty good. You can keep using the lids for a little while, and then if down the road it just seems like they're kind of failing, you can order the lids that fit these. So, ooh, that one has some fizz too. So, yeah, this one's about a week old, May 2nd. Yeah. So, I went ahead and ordered some flip top bottles. The main thing is when you go to clean them, you know, take this little rubber stopper off because it can get kind of gross around there. You think you're cleaning it, but you're really not. So you just take these off and clean them well. But you don't have to be as picky about it as like beer brewing. You really have to watch what's clean. So they have Santa solution that they rinse everything with, or they run them through the dishwasher on hot so that the heat sterilizes them. And you don't have to be quite as picky about that. So just wash them real good. If you want to, you know, you can do as much as you want, but you don't have to be super crazy about it. So for a 16-ounce bottle, you want to have like maybe a 1/4 cup to 1/3 of your liquid. This, I just cut a few strawberries up, threw a couple balls of ginger in there and a few leaves of basil. I don't know, whatever looked right. It's just a wing it thing. And I ran it through the blender. So I turned it into a puree. Oh, there we go. I'm gonna hope that this funnel, that it'll go through. So go ahead and, I don't even measure, you just kind of eyeball it. That's gloppy. Gloppy, gloppy. All right. And then this is an IKEA bottle. And since I'm probably not gonna let too much pressure build up, I think some people have said that IKEA bottles aren't as secure, that they have more of a tendency to explode. But mine haven't yet. Some people say they're fine. Some people say they're not. You know, it's the internet. Every answer you ever want is out there. Right or wrong. Alrighty. So that one could probably use some more, but I don't have more. So that's how that's going to be. And I can just go ahead and fill it then. And then just, woo, hello. That was fast. Go ahead and fill your bottle. And then some other wacky, well, not even wacky, but some delicious sounding flavors that I saw online. There's a lemon verbena. That sounded really good.
That sounds awesome.
And somebody had a lemon ginger, and I think he just took like a lemon, a thumb of ginger, and added some extra sugar. So you want to have, you know, if you don't have a lot of sugars in from your fruit, don't overfill it there, baby. But then you want to add some sugar because, again, it needs the sugars to ferment. The yeast is going to use those sugars to ferment.
So in the one that you're doing right now, this is a kombucha that you've aged for, what, 10 days?
Yeah, about a week.
About a week.
Yeah.
And now you're pouring it in and you're giving it some more sugar in this bottle through the mechanism of adding the fruit, but you didn't add additional sugar to this, did you?
I did a little bit. I probably maybe put in like a quarter cup.
Okay.
Just to give it fizz. Wow, we're really, that's just totally measured right out. So I've also kind of found in the past that, see how I'm getting a lot of bubbles here? If you do your fruits after, like fill your bottle and then put some fruit in and then kind of top the bottle, you don't get as much fizz. So when the other thing that's going to help give you a lot of fizz after your fermentation is you only want to leave about an inch of headspace. I can't even really explain it because I'm not that scientific about things, but that's what the saying is. So when you go to close your bottle, you only want about an inch of headspace in there. And then you'll get better carbonation.
Right.
So, and we're gonna get what we get. So that should probably about do it. It's way too busy. Here we go. This guy will help. Got some of those fruits. That's part of the problem. Woo! That bottle is any taller, that straw would be a permanent attachment. Alrighty, so we're gonna go with it. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and close it all up. And I like to make a note on them what flavors they are and what day I did them. Because I may forget for a while and look in the back of the fridge and go, oh, hi. So yes, so for second fermentation, you want to keep them at about the same temperature. Warmer, they'll ferment faster. Colder, they'll do slower. And it'll be about 1 to 4 days. So even after 1 day, if you know you have a lot of sugar and very little headspace, you might want to start checking it each day. And so you just want to give it a little burp and see how it's sounding. When it sounds like it's got good fizz, go ahead and move it to the fridge, and that will slow down the fermentation process. Practically.
Oh, okay, that's how you do that. So you move it to the fridge. So you don't have to drink it all on one day.
No. Oh, it's ready. Hurry up. Have a kombucha party. Nope. Yeah, just go ahead and put it to the fridge. And, you know, if you take it with you, like grab it out of the fridge as you're heading out the door for something, as it warms up, it's going to foam when you open it. You're going to want to be careful. So it doesn't blow up while it's still.
Well, have you done the second step in a larger container? Because now this is looking complicated to me again because I have all those little bottles.
Well, you can start acquiring your bottles as you buy some from the stores, but or even just watch online and sometimes people are giving Kolsch bottles away and things like that.
Okay.
But yes, you can. You want to make sure that if you're doing a second fermentation that's going to have the carbonation, you want to have it in a container that's going to be able to hold the pressure.
I'm thinking of a vodka bottle.
It might be able to hold the pressure. I keep an eye on it. Don't put it over, don't let it sit over any expensive electronics, just in case. So some people get nervous about their bottles bursting during second fermentation, and they'll just like let them sit in a cooler with no ice, just a closed cooler, so that if something goes haywire, then it's in an enclosed environment and there's not glass blowing up anywhere. Yeah, a lot of people, they don't really want to bother with the fizz, so they just want to flavor it. And at that point, you can put it in whatever, and just make sure it has airflow. Just keep an eye on it. But yeah, you could use like, a juice jug if you just want to flavor it and not worry about the carbonation.
So if you just do that, then you would still put it in the fridge to slow down the process.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So after you want
to leave it out for a couple of days so that the sugars get consumed by the yeasts and it ferments. But just be careful of the carbonation buildup.
Cool. That looks delicious. I wish I was stopping by. I have a couple questions.
Yes.
My first one is, I bought some kombucha one time at Whole Foods. This is when it was like the brand new thing, right?
Uh-huh.
Years and years ago, because Max was little, and I remember the experience because I drank the whole kombucha while I was shopping, and then I was drunk and I couldn't go pick up my kid from nursery school.
Weird.
So they had done something wrong, but I had like alcoholic kombucha, or I mean, I was drunk. I know what feeling drunk feels like. So
that's really interesting. I think I was reading a thing this week about there was kind of an uproar, and now that there's a lot more regulations that they have to pass and what they have to like say on it, what their alcohol content is. I mean, there is hard kombucha that's out there, obviously, that you can buy. I watched a video of some guy that used yeast champagne and just made he was making really hard kombucha. I was like, oh, this looks interesting. So one day I might do that too. But yeah, so there was an uproar. It got pulled from the shelves for a while, and then now there's some regulations that they have to follow as far as labeling.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was interesting. It was the bulk batch from like the tea shop at Whole Foods.
Wow, I didn't even know that was a thing there. Okay.
It was back then. I don't know if they're still doing it, considering that they're getting like moms, preschoolers too drunk to go get their kids. Maybe they discontinued that.
That could be. That's a problem. That is kind of a problem.
Who else has any questions? Anybody else have questions from the group chat? You were very clear in the way that you laid it all out, and I think I did a pretty good job of capturing it all. So I'm going to make sure. That is a cute dog.
He is, and he's telling me it's dinner time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I hope you're going to have a wonderful Mother's Day weekend and be super appreciated. Is that the plan?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I don't think anyone has any questions. I think you laid it out really well. I even understand what to do, and I'm actually going to try it. So I'm gonna take you up on your SCOBY offer. SCOBY offer. I'll swing by your house sometime this week and grab one.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you, Chel.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.